Sahanau bhunaktu Saha viryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. You repeat after me. You can see the prayer on the screen. Mukam karoti vachalam
Mukam karoti vachalam
Pangum langhayate girim
Pangum langhayate girim
Yat kripatamaham vande
Yat kripatamaham vande
Paramananda madhavam.
Paramananda madhavam.
Okay, good. Can we have the next slide? Last week, we officially started the Bhagavad Gita, and we started with the first verse. You all remember what's the first word in the first verse?
Dharma.
Dharma. So let us chant this verse, and then we'll go through it. Okay? Dhritarashtra uvacha
Dhritarashtra vacha
Dharma kshetre kurukshetre
Dharma kshetre kurukshetre
Samaveta
Samaveta-yuyutsavaha
Mamakah pandavaschaiva
Mamaka pandavaschaiva
Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
We'll chant it together. Dhritarashtra uvacha Dharma kshetre kurukshetre Samaveta yuyutsavaha Mamakah pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Okay, so last week we spoke all about dharma. You all remember that about dharma? And we said that dharma has two meanings. One meaning is our essential nature, that is called our Param Dharma, our supreme dharma. And our essential nature is Ātman. And then we also have our worldly dharma. So the second meaning of dharma is our duties, our responsibilities in the world. And dharma is that which integrates, which holds together. And we saw that our dharma, we have so many different kinds of dharmas. One is what we call Sāmānya-dharma, which is the common virtues and values that we practice. The other one is called Sāmānya-dharma, whereby if we have a particular skill or talent, then that becomes our dharma to give and to share. If there are a group of friends together and somebody is having financial hardship, which is the friend who should help? The one who has wealth. If a group of friends are together and somebody is having a hard time applying for a job or creating a resume, who should help? The one who is very proficient in all of that. So whatever talent and ability we have, it doesn't mean that it's for display. It means we have to actually use it. We have to actually put it to use, and that is part of dharma. It can't just remain with us. A third dharma is according to our varna and ashrama, according to our varna, our state of mind, and according to our stage in life. We went through the different stages in life, the different kinds of minds that we have. And the fourth kind of dharma we saw was emergency dharma. Remember that? Apat dharma. Then we talked about the source of all dharma, where it comes from. It comes from our scriptures, our social customs, our self-awareness of treating others as we would like to be treated, and from Shreshta, from noble people. And we saw stories of two noble people last week who really stood by their dharma. You remember who those people are? One was one with a C, Chanakya. I remember the story of Chanakya. We also saw the story of Pannadhai. I remember, right? Very, very difficult. Dharma is not easy. It's Gambhira. It's not very easy. It's quite deep. So the first word of the Bhagavad Gita is clearly Dharma. It means that it is the foundation of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, in this verse, it says Dharma Kshetre. So in that war, actually, that Mahabharata war, it was a very dharmic war. It was a very, very dharmic war, meaning people would only fight their equal. So a swordsman would only fight a swordsman. A horseman would only fight a horseman. And they would also fight only in sunrise and throughout the day, and they stopped fighting at sunset. And they even shared a common kitchen. Do you know the Kauravas and Pandavas shared a common kitchen? And yeah, the Udupi, the king of Udupi. Have you been to Udupi? Right? Udupi is very famous for their food. It was the king of Udupi who fed all of them. So, very interesting story that every day the king cooked enough food for all of the armies on both sides. Somebody asked him, so many soldiers are dying every day. How is it that you're able to make the exact same food, exact amount for everybody, and nobody's at a loss for food? So the king says, I have a secret. Every day I feed Bhagavan Krishna boiled peanuts. And the amount that he eats is the amount of soldiers that are going to die. So therefore I know how much food to make. So this king of Udupi used to cook food for them. So imagine they ate in the same kitchen. And in the night after war, they went to each other's tents. And that was fine. So that was the level of dharma that they practiced. That even if in the battlefield we are enemies and we're fighting with each other, when we have to eat, we'll eat. And in the evening, if we have to go to each other's tents, that's fine. If we have to meet each other, it's fine. They practiced such dharma that Bhishma, who was on the side of the Kauravas, Bhishma was infallible. He was just a great, great, invincible army. He was just he made the whole army invincible. And they didn't know how to defeat him. So what did Sri Krishna tell Yudhishthira, who was on the Pandava side? Sri Krishna tells Yudhishthira, in the evening, go to Bhishma's tent. Ask him how to kill him. Ask him how to kill him. And Yudhishthira goes to the Kaurava tent in the night to Bhishma, who's fighting against him. And says, Bhishma, you are my grandfather. I have grown up with you, but in this war I have to defeat you. Please tell me, how do I kill you? Please tell me. And Bhishma tells him, this is how you kill me. Bhishma said, I will not fight. If you put a woman in front of me, I will not fight, because it is against war. A man has to fight with a man. A swordsman has to fight with a swordsman. So that's what ended up happening. They put Shikhandi in front of Bhishma, and that's how Bhishma lost his life. So why I'm telling you this is the culture we've come from. This is how much dharma was practiced. Now in this verse it tells you dharma kshetre kurukshetre. So in the dharma kshetra, which is Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is an actual place in Haryana. Has anybody been to Kurukshetra? Okay, so it's actually there. Samaveta yuyutsavaha. So everybody was assembled, and these soldiers were desirous to fight. Now here is the obstacle to dharma. The first line of the shloka tells you about dharma. The second line tells you What's the obstacle to dharma? What is the obstacle? Dhritarashtra says, Mamakaha Pandavascheva. He says, O Sanjaya, who's reporting the war to Dhritarashtra, O Sanjaya, tell me what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do in the battlefield? Kim akurvata. Tell me what is wrong in this statement. My sons and Pandu's sons. So, the obstruction to dharma is in the form of the word mamakaha, mine. The obstruction to dharma is attachment. So in the first verse, first line, it tells you uphold dharma. The second line, it tells you attachment is the obstruction of dharma. And this is what we're going to see today, how dharma gets obstructed. And dharma gets obstructed by so many people. We're going to first start with Dhritarashtra. So everybody knows Dhritarashtra? Dhritarashtra is the father of the Kauravas. And the Kauravas were 101 in number. There are 100 sons and one daughter. Dushala, I think her name is Dushala. Dhritarashtra, was blind. Yeah? And it's symbolic because his attachment made him blind. You see, his name was Dhritarashtra. Rashtra means nation. Dhrita means the one who's supposed to hold the nation. He is supposed to hold the nation because he was the king, but he couldn't hold it together. And that's his attachment is what blinded him. Now, who was Dhritarashtra? Or what was Dhritarashtra attached to? His sons. It clearly says, my sons. My sons. See, Dhritarashtra and Pandu were brothers, right? And Pandu, his brother, had died. And Pandu had the 5 sons, the Pandavas. Yudhishthira, then Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva. So Pandu left 5 sons with Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra was supposed to be like the father to both the Pandavas and his 101 Kauravas. But did he do that? Did he act like a father to them? No. So in all aspects of his dharma, he failed. As a king of the nation, he failed to uphold justice. As the father to not only the Kauravas and Pandavas, he failed in his dharma. He failed in his dharma because as a father, one of the meanings of father is pita. Pita is the one who protects. He's supposed to protect both. But he didn't. Because the Kauravas did so many things to the Pandavas. They Duryodhana poisoned Bhima. They sent them to a palace of wax. They had the palace of wax burnt. They did all kinds of atrocities, the Kauravas, on the Pandavas. They failed to protect them. Not to mention that game of dice, which was rigged. Dhritarashtra knew it was rigged, knew that the Kauravas were cheating, but he didn't say anything. And Dhritarashtra was also the father-in-law of Draupadi. When Draupadi was humiliated, Dhritarashtra stayed silent. He didn't say anything. So this king failed in his dharma in all respects. As a king, as a father to both of them, as a father-in-law, and even as a father to his own son Duryodhana. When a parent just watches their child do all wrong things and doesn't say anything, that is called adharma. Adharma, meaning it's not dharma. It's not dharmic. And Dhritarashtra just watched. Means couldn't literally watch because he was blind, but he just let it happen. He let it happen. And when he saw things that are going wrong, he didn't say anything. You know, in New York, they have, if you see something, say something, right? In New York, Dhritarashtra didn't follow that. He didn't follow that. So his failure was attachment. So what is this word attachment? Huh? Attachment means depending on something or on someone for our source of joy. So attachment, it means when we depend on something or somebody for our source of joy. Doesn't mean if you live with somebody you're attached, or if you're taking care of somebody you're attached. But the minute that this person becomes my source of joy, that is attached. So step by step, let's analyze. Step 1. So these are the steps of attachment. Step 1. Delusion. Delusion where I am deluded that you are my source of joy. As we learn in Vedanta, we will begin to understand that joy lies where? Within. Joy lies within ourselves. So the first step of attachment is I become deluded. I think that you are my source of joy. You will make me happy. The second step, after I become deluded and think that you are my source of joy and you are my everything and will make me happy, I become dependent. The second step is dependence. Then I am dependent on you. I am dependent on you for everything because you're going to make me happy. And whenever there's dependence, what's the third step? Helplessness. I will do whatever you want because I am dependent on you. Whatever it is you want, I will do it. And what's the fourth step? Fear. I will do whatever you want because I'm afraid to lose you. So guess what? Even if something's wrong, I'll do it because I'm afraid. What if you leave me and go? Step 5 is adharma. Therefore, I will perform adharma. Everything that's contrary to dharma because I'm acting out of fear. I'm afraid. What's step 6? When I perform adharma, when I do something wrong, how do I feel? Guilty. I live a life of guilt. I live a life of sorrow and disturbance. And that's why Dhritarashtra could not sleep at night. He couldn't sleep because he felt so much sorrow. So what was he doing? First, he was deluded that Duryodhana is my source of joy. My son is my everything. Then he became dependent. That my son is everything, so I have to keep my son. And I'll be helplessly persuaded by my son. Helplessly persuaded because I'm afraid. So even if my son is doing something wrong, guess what I'm going to do? Let it go. If my son is doing something wrong, watch it. Even participate in it. Because I'm afraid. And I know it's wrong. But I can't help it. Because I'm attached. And inside, how is he feeling? Broken. Guilt. Huh? This is the breakdown of Dhritarashtra. He had the power to stop the war. He had the power because he was king. He had the power to uphold justice, but he didn't do it. Few years ago, there was some scam. Was it called Varsity Blues or something? Do you remember that college scam? Right? When the parents were paying somebody to get their kids into college. Right? Do you remember that? That is the case of Dhritarashtra also. Right? So because you want your kid to get into college, but they're not getting into the college they want. So what are you going to do? Pay. So this is what happens when people get swayed by attachment. Swayed by attachment. You're going to ask, is there a way to live without being attached? Definitely. That way is called love. That way is called love. What is the opposite? So let us see the 6 steps I told you to attachment, right? What does detachment look like then? What is detachment? Detachment doesn't mean you have to live away from the person. Detachment just means remove the dependence on the person for your source of joy. I'm not even saying remove the physical dependence. You cannot. For the kids and parents and the spouse, you cannot remove physical dependence. But detachment means I do not depend on you for my source of joy. So instead of delusion, step 1 is wisdom. I love you, but I know that you are not the source of joy. The source of joy lies within. I'm clear about that. I care for you. I'll be there for you. I'll spend time with you. But I know that the source of joy is within. So step 2, instead of dependence, then independence. So guess if the kids call, okay. If the kids don't call, if they don't call for a few days, okay. For a few weeks together, I'll check on them. But they don't have to call every day. Because independence. I can handle it. Instead of helplessness, detachment shows strength. I'm strong. It's okay. It's okay because I have my own source of joy. Instead of committing adharma, the one who's detached will never commit adharma, will always be in the line of dharma. Because I'm not afraid to lose anybody. You go if you have to go. It's okay. And therefore, that person who is detached, then fearless, they perform adharma. They perform dharma, rather they're fearless, they perform dharma, and they feel peace. They feel peace. So instead of fear, fearless. Instead of adharma, dharma. Instead of guilty or guilt, they feel peace. Okay? This is what it means to be detached. So we have to get this context right, because a lot of times we feel like detachment means you have to leave home. Detachment means you have to be away from somebody. No, it's not that. Detachment means being independent of that thing or that person for your sense of joy. Now, a question might come here as to, what if I have not found the source of joy within me? I have not found it. So how can I be detached from other things? I have not found the source of joy within me. Answer to that is, our Shastras allow us 3 things to be attached to. One is called the Guru Parampara, wise company. Attach yourself to Satsanga, to wise company, because that will lift our minds to great heights. The second is attachment to Bhagavan, attachment to God, to that truth. Okay? And the third is attachment to scriptures, attachment to Gita, attachment to scriptures. Okay. Hari Om, if you can, attachment to scriptures. When we keep attachment to these 3 things, they are allowed because they help us detach from other things. So you see how beautiful this thing is? When I am attached to these 3 things, satsang, wise company, when I am attached to God, when I am attached to scriptures, this helps me detach from all the other things. Whereas if I'm attached to a child, that's going to get me attached to so many other things. If I'm attached to a spouse, it's going to get me attached to so many other things. So detachment is a very beautiful thing. And detachment gives us clarity to perform our dharma. In fact, with detachment, love grows even stronger because we're able to give the person space. Sometimes if you're too much in the face of each other, it's very annoying, very difficult. Right? Even the kids will feel that too much. But when you're detached, you have your own source of joy, you're able to give people that time and space to be apart from them a little bit. Hmm? So Dhritarashtra's problem was attachment. Now, who else had that problem of attachment is Duryodhana. Hmm? So in your books, we're now in chapter 8. If you look at chapter 8, last week we did chapter 7. We're now in the pride of Duryodhana. We're going to see what he was attached to. Hmm? So now, what do you think Duryodhana was attached to? Dhritarashtra was attached to Duryodhana. What was Duryodhana attached to? His kingdom. Power. He was attached to it, right? He was attached to it that he depended on it for his source of joy. And he was helplessly attached to it. He was willing to do anything. Cheat, lie, steal, be totally brutal and rude to his own cousins. And because of that, he was so adharmic. And because Duryodhana was so adharmic, outside he looked like he was unbeatable. After all, his name was Duryodhana. Duryodhana means the one that's really difficult to beat. Dur means difficult. Yodhana means wars. The one who is really difficult to beat is called Duryodhana. So although on the outside he looked like he was unconquerable, inside he was completely shattered. And that's why here Gurudev writes that already he lost the war because his inside was shattered. Huh? Now let's read this. Let's go ahead and read this verse. It's going to be on page 37 on your book. It's in the bottom. You see the footnote there? Yeah? I'll just chant that verse, just repeat after me, and then we'll explore Duryodhana's attachment now. Pashyetam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudham Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. Together. Pashyetam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudham Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata. How many of you are reading from Devanagari? From the Devanagari font? How many of you are reading from the English? Okay. Just a few things I'll just share about the English font because we're going to keep chanting the Gita. When you see a line on top of the letter, like you see Pashyetam, you see a line on top of the letter, that means it's a long sound. Tam, right? And when you see an apostrophe over the S, that's a sh sound. Pash, that's a sh. Pashyetam. And you see in the word Pandu, there's a dot underneath the N and a dot underneath the D. That's R, right? Pandu, Pandu. That's that sound. So a dot underneath tells you that you have to roll your tongue. Pandu. And we have, again in the second line, Vyudham, da. That tells you have to roll your tongue. Now, in the second to the last word, you see the word Shishyena. You see one S has an apostrophe and the other S has a dot underneath it. This is a Sanskritam thing, but the apostrophe tells you it's a sha, and the dot underneath tells you it's a sh, like you have to touch the roof of your tongue, sh. But don't worry too much about it, but I just want you to note that these are the things. Whenever you see something, a line on top of a letter, it's a long sound. And whenever you see a dot underneath, it means you have to kind of roll your tongue. Huh? An apostrophe on the S, it's a sha. A dot underneath the S, it's a shra. Shra. Okay? So now this is Duryodhana. We have to see the nerve of Duryodhana. He's just such an amazing character. If we analyze him, some of us are also like this. Huh? We'll recognize ourselves in Duryodhana. Huh? So he has the nerve to tell Dronacharya. You know, Dronacharya is his teacher, his guru. Okay, this is how he's talking to his guru. His guru is so great that his guru is a master of warfare. His guru has taught him. He goes in front of his guru, it's because he's feeling so insecure. Huh? And when people feel insecure, what happens? They become loud. Huh? Those who are secure in themselves, they're not loud. They're fine, they're quiet, they're quite poised. But the ones who are insecure, they're very loud. And they like to boast and they like to tell everybody because it makes them feel better. Hmm? Once Guruji said that is why coins make a lot of noise, but the dollar bill doesn't make any noise. Huh? So when you've got nothing, you're going to talk a lot. But when you have something, your mere presence is enough. You agree or not? When somebody has a strong presence, they don't need to say anything. They just walk and you know that person is that caliber. Huh? So this Duryodhana was not of that caliber, was of the dollar coins kind of, pennies and nickels kind of caliber. He was talking to his acharya and he says, look at everybody here. And I'm going to describe to you the warriors in the Pandava side. Now, as if Dronacharya doesn't know. He knew everything. But Duryodhana said, just to make himself feel better, he said, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to analyze the whole scenario. These are all the warriors of the Pandava side. And then after that he says, but these are the warriors of the Kaurava side. You know? And then he tells this Dronacharya that there's such great armies here. And he kind of tells him, I don't want you to be weak. He implies, because he tells him, Dhritarashtra is the commander-in-chief of the Pandavas' army. Dhritarashtra was born to kill Dronacharya. He was born to kill Dronacharya. He was the commander of the Pandava army. And guess what? Before, back in the day, Dhritarashtra, he went to Dronacharya to learn archery. And Dronacharya accepted him. I know that this Dhritarashtra is born to kill me, but I'm going to accept him as my student. That was a level of dharma. Huh? So Dronacharya was there, and this Duryodhana said, your Shishya, Dhritarashtra is in the other team. So I'm scared that maybe you might have a, tender heart, soft heart for him, Your student is there. And Duryodhana was kind of acting like this. And Dronacharya said, this is just, he didn't say anything. Duryodhana was looking for like some validation, because when you're insecure, you want some validation that, hey, yeah, you're strong, you can fight them or whatever. Dronacharya didn't say anything. He didn't say anything, he kept quiet. So Duryodhana went on and on. And what did Duryodhana say? He said, look at all of these warriors on my side. They're ready to give their lives up for me. And Dronacharya was just thinking in his head, like, what is this, Duryodhana? Because they fought on the Kaurava army, not for Duryodhana, but for Bhishma and Dronacharya. And this Duryodhana goes on, and he has no statesmanship. He has no army formation. He says, all of you just arrange yourselves so that you protect Bhishma. Because he's the strength of the army. You just protect Bhishma. And Dronacharya said, this is getting too much. He looks at Bhishma. Bhishma says, he's acting like a fool. We have to do something, otherwise everybody's morale is going to sink. He's speaking too many foolish things. So what does Bhishma do? Bhishma doesn't say anything. He blows the conch. He blows the conch because to make Duryodhana shut up. Enough talking, you're gonna make the army feel so low. He blows the conch, and that was the start of the war. So because Bhishma blew the conch, then Drona blew the conch, then the Pandavas also, they all blew the conch, and the war started. Now, as the war was starting, Arjuna's ready. This is a moment he's been waiting for his entire life. He's been waiting, he's been doing so much tapasya, so much austerities because he is ready to fight. And the way that the conches were blown, it said that the whole earth and heavens were reverberating. And Arjuna tells Sri Krishna, bring me in the battlefield, in between the two armies. Senayor ubhayor madhye. Bring me in between the two armies. Let me see for myself who I have to fight because I'm ready. I've been waiting. And Sri Krishna is the charioteer. He brings Arjuna ready in the middle of the battlefield. And he brings Arjuna to Arjuna's weakest spot. To Bhishma and Dronacharya in front of them. And what happens? Arjuna, so strong, so mighty, completely breaks down. Now, first thing we have to see here is Sri Krishna brings Arjuna to the spot where it hurts. When you go for acupuncture, where do they press? Where it hurts. So Bhagavan has a way of bringing us to a place where it hurts most. And this was where Arjuna was brought. Now Arjuna was seeing all of them. Who did he see? He saw Bhishma, his grandfather almost, the one who really raised him, who brought him up, who took care of him. He saw Dronacharya, his teacher, who taught him archery. He saw Kripacharya, his teacher. He saw Shalya, his uncle. His cousins, the Kauravas. His nephews, his uncles. He saw all of them. And at that moment when he saw all of them, he broke down completely. He broke down completely. Why? Because he put the person over the principle. Remember, he was there for dharma. He was not there to fight against Bhishma or fight against Drona, fight against Kripa. He was there to uphold dharma. He forgot the principle, and all that came to him was a person. All that came to him is, I am fighting my teachers, my grandfathers, my uncles. It didn't hit him that I am fighting dharma. You see, Arjuna also was a victim of attachment. What was his attachment? Dhritarashtra's attachment was Duryodhana. Duryodhana's attachment was power, the kingdom. What was Arjuna's attachment? His attachment was Bhishma and Drona. His attachment was them. What did he do? Break it down. He saw them as his source of joy. Therefore, he was dependent on them. He wanted them to live because they were a source of joy for him. They brought him up. He spent his childhood with them. And because he was dependent on them, what happened? Helpless. He was helpless. And because he was helpless, he was afraid to fight. Imagine that warrior who was so strong, he was afraid to fight. And because he was afraid, he cowed down. He sat down. He wanted even to run away. He performed adharma. And inside, he was shattered. Arjuna can be likened to, somebody when at work in the office, somebody has to fire someone. And they say, yes, I'm going to fire that person, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And when the person's right in front of you, you don't know what to say. Very difficult. Huh? Or your spouse or your child, well, I'm going to tell that child this, they can't do this, they can't do that. When the child gets in front of you and laughs, what do? You can't say anything. So Arjuna had this. And what did he feel? Let's see here. Now I want you to turn to page 44. Page 44, okay? Turn to page 44 and let's chant this verse. Let's just get the feeling of Arjuna, okay? Drishtve swajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupasthitam sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati vepatuscha sharire me Roma harshascha jayate. Together. Drishtve swajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupasthitam sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati vepatuscha sharire me Roma harshascha jayate. So, Arjuna, Drishtva imam, when he saw all of these people, Swajanam, oh Krishna, when I see all of these people, Yuyutsum, those who are ready to fight, Samupasthitam, those who are stationed there, what happens to Arjuna? He says, Sidanti mama gatrani. He says that my body is becoming limp. My limbs are just becoming weak. My body is becoming limp. My limbs are becoming so weak. Mukham cha parishusyati. My mouth is dried up. Vepatuscha sharire me. My body is just trembling. Roma harshascha jayate. And hairs are standing on end. And that bow, Arjuna had a Gandiva bow. This was his most prized possession. It slipped. This Gandiva just slipped. And he became dizzy. And he sat down. He was standing. He was ready to fight. He sat down. And he said, Shri Krishna, I'm not going to fight. I can't fight. This became Arjuna's condition. So Gurudev says very beautifully, this Arjuna disease is like sometimes we see anxiety attack or panic attack or where we're just frozen. We don't know what to do. Arjuna also experienced it. He was completely frozen. He didn't know what to do. And when he's sitting there, that's where all of his speech starts. Arjuna starts to rant on and on and on and on because he's trying to escape the situation. So he gives Sri Krishna all of these reasons why he should not fight. And what are those reasons? We will see next time. Next time, we will see Arjuna's full-on rant justifying why he should not fight. And as Arjuna goes on and on and on, Sri Krishna just does one thing. He listens. Hmm? So this is the obstruction to dharma. Attachment. Hmm? Once we become attached to anything or anybody, it's very difficult to perform dharma. We do things which we're not proud of doing. I suppose that's also why they say that justice, they don't try their own cases, right? Their kith and kin, they have the ability to say, I don't want to try this case. If it's somebody that in their family, or a doctor, if it's somebody in their family, they also say, maybe I don't perform the surgery for that person, right? Because a certain detachment is necessary. Okay, stop here. Does anybody have any questions or any thoughts? Yeah?
When you spoke earlier about dealing with like someone who's insecure, that's very loud and like always boasting, how do we handle situations like that? Would you prefer if someone just stays quiet, let them boast and talk? Because sometimes it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, but you just stay quiet. What can you do? See, one thing we have to remember, everybody acts according to their nature. So this one who's insecure and boasting all the time is going to keep doing it. There's not much we can do to shut them up. But if we don't pay attention, then that's a big blow to them. Like it's a big blow to Duryodhana, right? But Dronacharya didn't pay any attention. And he didn't feel validated. He kept going on and on and on. So Bhishmacharya finally just blew the conch. So if you have a conch, blow it. I'm not blow a conch. Yeah, I have to go, I have to leave. Because they won't change.
Is it wrong to avoid them?
It's good to avoid them. We don't need to be with them. It's good to avoid them. Yeah.
So I like the analogy to firing someone,
Yeah.
because that can be very difficult, right? And so you might have to for whatever reason,
Yeah.
but it can be very difficult when you look someone in the eyes and have to do something.
Yeah.
But I think it's because there's an innate compassion that people have.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing for Arjuna, like there was some compassion or some love there. So how do you overcome that very human feeling of compassion when there's dharma that has to be accounted for?
Yeah. See, Arjuna had misplaced compassion. And I'll tell you why. Before the war, before that whole incident, he was ready to fight. Right? And then all of a sudden, when he's in the middle, I'm not going to fight. And then he says, I'm being compassionate. Oh, that's called misplaced compassion. Right? If somebody has to fire somebody for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons, for the right reasons, it's absolutely correct to be compassionate, but we must still uphold dharma in the most compassionate way. What has to be done, but it can be done in a compassionate way. But we cannot go there and say, now I have too much compassion, I can't fire a person. Then nothing will work, right? Yeah. So dharma has to be upheld.